everyone, and welcome to episode 68 of Piv's NXT Point of View podcast. My name is Bill Pivets. So this week was the follow-up of TakeOver The End. There was a few matches on the card. We got a follow-up of Finn Balor. We kind of see where it's going, his next feud. There wasn't really a lot of notable things that happened on this show that progressed as far as TakeOver, but they did do a lot of follow-up, which is good, from TakeOver. We got a video recap of TakeOver, and we were told that Finn Balor would address the NXT crowd and what's next for him later on in the show. The first match was the Author of Pains versus two job guys. Graves and Phillips put these guys over huge. They noted that Paul Ellering was with them. He has an eye for talent because he managed the Road Warriors. The crowd, on the other hand, really weren't fans of them. They weren't reacting. I think they were giving them go away heat more than actual heel heat. Corey Graves and Tom Phillips didn't address these guys by names. They just said the one guy, the other guy, the partners. They used a lot of pronouns when talking about the Authors of Pain. They ended up winning with a clothesline leg sweep combo, and despite the obvious squash, they looked really good in the ring. I know one of them has an amateur background before coming into pro wrestling, so they have some technique around the ring. Other than that, they looked really fluid, they looked good. They weren't out of place or anything like that. So when it does lead to the eventual matchup with American Alpha, it should actually be a good match, better than what many people may think. Andrade Almas was asked about what's next for him, and Ty Dillinger interrupted him and asked for a rematch, which they ended up having later on in the show. And we also got note that TM61 will face Blake and Murphy as well. After their match, Andrea tried to interview the Authors of Pain, but they walked right by her. She then asked Paul Ellering what they're doing here, and he said, in due time. So it looks like they have a purpose, or they're building up to what their purpose is, and I'm looking forward to Paul Ellering's first promo in NXT. That should be gold. Second match was Carmella against Tessa Blanchard. Carmella landed a second row Hurricanrana and a dropkick off the ropes. Tessa held down the ropes through a roll-through and then slammed Carmella's head against the mat and then wore her down with a abdominal stretch. A little later, Carmella broke free, hit the Bronco Buster in the corner, and then hit what she calls, I believe they said, the Code of Silence, which is her leg scissors submission, to get the win. Decent match overall, but really nothing notable again, just like the rest of the show. Carmella has been in a holding pattern. She's getting wins, but against lesser opponents, they're really not moving her up the card. But I guess with reason, because they're going to, build to the Bayley-Asuka rematch once she's healthy. So they don't want to give Carmella too much momentum going forward. Once, Bayley leaves, she'll be the number 2 babyface. But as of right now, they're just keeping her in a holding pattern. But it just seems like she's been in the same spot. The crowd loves her still, but there's really nothing exciting or new to get behind Carmella about. We then got an interview from Joe about his win last week. He asked, what are you willing to do for the NXT title? He said that he hunted the beast and answered who the undisputed NXT champion is, and this marks the beginning of a new era. Great promo. Samoa Joe on fire as a heel. He's a much better character as a heel than a babyface. He just looks like an unstoppable beast, and I guess I just want to wish the best of luck to whoever the next challenger is for the NXT title, because they are going to need it. Kathy Kelly then interviewed Blake and Murphy, asked if their issues were resolved. Murphy somewhat threw Blake under the bus, but Blake came back and blamed it all on Alexa. They agreed, and they want to get back on top and win the NXT Tag Team titles. Third match led to TM61 against Blake and Murphy. Beginning of the match, we got a "Where's Alexa" chant. Thorne caught Blake and Murphy, both of them with dropkicks, and TM61 were in control. They landed some nice double team moves. I think they landed a suplex and senton splash over the ropes. They sent Blake to the outside, and they hit Murphy with a double fish drop. Blake distracted Miller a little bit, and Murphy clotheslined Thorne after the distraction, and which led to Blake and Murphy getting on the offensive. Thorne created some space. He ducked, and which made Blake clothesline Murphy and got the tag to Miller. He landed a spinebuster, and TM61 with what they called the Thunder Valley. Good tag match. I like that Blake and Murphy were actually on the same page and didn't lead to the finish, only the miscues. But it wasn't miscommunication. It was just, I think, Miller ducking and just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. They didn't do any follow-up with Blake and Murphy. They kind of just stared at each other and discussed, but really no breakdown as far as that. But TM61 is another great team in NXT, and this tag team division is on fire right now. Just compared to maybe a little over a year ago, 18 months ago, this tag team division was stagnant as all hell. And right now you have American Alpha, The Revival, TM61. I'm not going to count Blake and Murphy. You have the Authors of Pain. Who else? I guess the Hype Bros, if they're still there. Gargano and Ciampa. So there's a lot of moving pieces in the tag team division. It's going to lead to nice matchups for the rest of the year, pretty much. We then got an interview from The Revival after the win from TakeOver, saying that they're all fists, no flips, no nonsense, and they're the best team in NXT. Typical stuff, but they did it in a heelish way. Graves then talked about NXT in London over, I forget what the name of the festival was, and the appearance from Bobby Roode. We then got a video recap of Nia Jax injuring Bayley, quote-unquote injuring her, in their match. Andrea then interviewed Bayley, asking for a recap of her progress. She said that she has a doctor's appointment next week, and if all goes well, she'll be back in the ring sooner than later. Fourth match was the TakeOver rematch between Andrade Cien Almas and Ty Dillinger. Almas hit a springboard back elbow, similar to Tajiri, and then some knife-edge chops. By the end of this, both men's chests were very red from all the chops that they landed. He hit a crossbody from the top rope, and Graves called these people turncoats as they cheered for Cien because they get to chant a higher number. That might have been my favorite line of the night, to be honest. Cien hit a big dropkick and sent Dillinger to the outside. Ty came back in and received a Hurricanrana. Almas feigned a dive through the ropes, which frustrated Dillinger as they led to the commercial break. Almas was still in control when they returned. Dillinger, compared to the TakeOver match, Dillinger got very little offense in this match. It was very, very one-sided. But as soon as I said that, of course, Dillinger made some comeback. He built momentum with a couple forearm smashes and a nice backbreaker. Almas came back with his own forearms and a dive to the outside. He landed a seated bulldog and the running knees in the corner to get the win. I actually think this match was a little better than TakeOver, just because it showed off what Almas can do. He got to showcase his offense a little more. It seemed like he was limited at TakeOver, so this one on NXT gave him a little more time to show what he had in him. He'll be fine. The crowd is starting to get behind him a little bit, chanting Cien, and just in amazement of their moves. Dillinger, I understand why he lost again. They're really not doing much with him. If he were to get more wins, build momentum like that, I could see him winning more high-profile matches. I don't see him going to the top of the NXT roster, but just a nice couple. I know he had a surprising win. I think it was against Austin Aries, I want to say, a few months ago. But other than that, he's just a good hand in the ring. The character is great, but it's more low mid card at the best. But again, he could be doing a lot worse. So that was the main event of the show, but the show ended with Finn Balor walking out to address the NXT crowd. There were a lot of "Thank you, Finn," and "Please don't go" chants. He said that the first time he saw NXT, he saw Enzo and Cass, and he wanted to be a part of that. He said that he became a part of NXT, but NXT became a part of him. He talked about his wars with Neville, Breeze, Owens, and most recently Joe. And he's had a nice resume in his short time in NXT so far. He's got a lot of high-profile matches under his belt, an actual belt around his waist, or he did at least. So Balor's been a top guy in NXT pretty much since he debuted. He said that the question is, what's next for Finn Balor? We got a Balor Club chant, and he threw up a too sweet sign. He repeated what's next for Finn Balor, and then the lights went out, and Shinsuke Nakamura's music hit. The crowd went nuts. Nakamura came to the ring, they shook hands, and a "This is awesome" chant broke out. Balor did Nakamura's taunt, and Shinsuke threw up the too sweet sign. Nakamura then said when he was in Japan, he watched Balor, the icon of NXT, and even though he's not the champ, he's still an icon. And Nakamura speaks really good English, compared to some of the other foreign superstars like Asuka, Hideo Itami, where is he? I know he's had complications with his shoulder, but this definitely could have been his spot. What are they going to do when he returns, if he returns? I actually had a coworker, I know I'm getting off track here, but I had a coworker that said that they should just send him back to Japan, because compared to Asuka and Nakamura, he's going to be number 3 Japanese star, and I don't think that's what they had planned for him when he came to NXT. But anyway, Nakamura said that if he wants to be champ, he has to beat the icon. The crowd went wild, and he went, I have to beat, paused for a very long time, thinking about it, and then pointing at Balor, he said, I have to beat you. The crowd started a loud yes chant and match of the year chant. Balor said Nakamura answered his questions, and we know what's next for Finn Balor. Finn Balor versus Shinsuke Nakamura. The two stared at each other, shook hands, and Nakamura went up the ramp, and that's how the show ended. Wow. I know it ended with the promo, but this week ended on a very, very high note. I'm not sure if this match is going to take place in Brooklyn. I gotta hope so, because I'm going to be there in attendance for that show. Or if it's just going to take place on a random NXT episode, which obviously shouldn't be the case. But if it does take place at TakeOver, obviously that'll be Balor's last match, but who's going to challenge Joe for the NXT title? Nakamura's could be that guy, but I think they want to build that a little more. Austin Aries just lost to Nakamura, so I don't see him getting the shot. Finn Balor's obviously already had his fair share of chances at Samoa Joe. I don't see any other babyface coming in to challenge Joe, unless they do a one-off, bring someone in. If Bobby Roode's ready in time to be that guy, I don't know. But that's a big question mark to leave on the NXT Brooklyn show. But this will be the match of the night if this is going to take place at TakeOver. Balor and Owens had a great match last year in Brooklyn, but Balor and Nakamura are going to tear the roof off that place. But I guess we'll find out in the next month or two on what the TakeOver card's going to shape up to be. But overall for the show, it wasn't a bad show. Authors of Pain, obviously a typical squash match. Carmella, same stuff, just defeating another woman on the roster. TM61 and Blake and Murphy, a pretty good tag match. TM61's got a bright future in NXT. Almas, again, another superstar in the making. He's going to be just fine over the next year. And the announcement, hopefully the official announcement of Balor and Nakamura, put this show pretty much at a B+ for me. Like I said, nothing major happened except for the announcement, but that kind of pushed it over the edge a little bit. Thanks for checking out Piv's NXT Point of View podcast. If you want, follow me on Twitter at @bpiv_sports. Rate, review the show on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, wherever else you guys listen to us. I greatly appreciate it. Also, side note, if you guys are into comics and movies and stuff like that, my friends Pat and Connor have an awesome show. It's actually called the Awesome Sunday Show. They produce a podcast twice a week. I was recently on it discussing E3, some of the game announcements and stuff like that. I'll post a link in the description as well, so definitely check them out if you're into that kind of stuff. All right, guys, I'll be back next week with episode 69. Peace.